You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
Hey guys, this is Nick, and I'm on panel with...
Hello, this is Daniel, and I'm on panel with Nick.
And this is Charlie.
And we're just here to ask you a little bit about our upcoming Public Defender Month. So the way this is going to work is starting on February 1st, which is soon, so I hope you're going to do this, and then until Valentine's Day, the February 14th, we're going to have you guys call in and tweet in and email in and tell us the movies you want us to defend instead.
Are you lonely on Valentine's Day? Give us a call.
Yeah, 3 red wines in, 3 glasses to the wind. We want you to tell, broken-hearted, tell us, you know, me and my ex used to watch this every... Oh, that would be something.
You know there's at least one person out there that has that movie in mind.
So just because we're here and we're telling stories, do any of you have a movie that was ruined because you saw it with an ex or anything? Because I have a story while you're thinking of one.
Go ahead with your story.
So I was in high school, and we were watching the Sam Raimi Spider-Man, the first one.
Yeah.
And we were making out or something. The girl's shirt was askew, and the mom came down to the basement.
Oh, boy. When you say askew, what do you mean exactly?
Possibly still on. But that was a slim possibility. And so from then on, I'm just like, if I watch this movie... she could come down the stairs, I guess. I don't know. I don't think I've seen that movie since 2003 or whatever.
When I was young, a long time ago, I went out with a girl on a date, and obviously I was
Wait.
Yes.
Wait, a girl?
A girl.
Okay.
A girl. And obviously I was very confused, but we went to see Silence of the Lambs.
a date film, if I've ever heard of one.
A date film, if you ever heard of one.
Good Lord.
I was... Throughout that movie, I didn't know what I was doing. I was nervous as hell, and I kept saying awkward, creepy things, actually. You know, when the guy, like, kidnapped the girl and threw her in the back of his van, I was like, oh, yeah, I could never do that. And I'm like, why does my date need to know that?
Pretending you have a broken arm and need to move a couch. That's pretty clever. I mean, wait, what I mean.
And so basically to this day, when I watch that movie, I think about my awkward first date with this girl and actually my first lady kiss.
Ooh.
There you go.
Yep.
I know my first date was when I took a girl in high school to see The Incredibles.
I mean, that's not a bad movie, though. So
No, that wasn't bad.
Can you watch it without thinking of a high school girlfriend?
Yeah, I think the one movie I can't watch because it used to be their favorite is West Side Story. She was a big fan of that.
Yo, that'll do it.
So I've only ever seen that once, but every time I see it or listen to it, it's like, oh, I remember how much she loved that movie.
It's funny because I also saw with the same girl The Music Man with Matthew Broderick, but luckily I've never had the compulsion to watch it again. But anyway,
how was her shirt then?
It was buttoned down tight. That wasn't doing anything for anyone. So while we're here, what we want you to do is call in with a movie, tell us your name, your location, whatever information you want to give about you, why you think it'd make a great episode. But you're going to email us at myopiapodcast@gmail.com, or if you're not following us yet, we're on Twitter at Myopia Podcast. We have over 10,000 followers. So if you're not following us, what are you doing? But if you want to hear your voice on the podcast, the number is 770-835-5578. That's our podcast voicemail. It's a Google Voice, so you can record your voicemail up to 2 minutes, and we will give it to you.
And we won't edit it either.
No, we won't, unless there's a lot of barfing because you're so drunk. Now, if you want to record yourself and send it in an email, you could do that too. But tune in as we put your past on trial. Thanks, guys.
What is the Geekly Oddcast? It's a panel show of television.
I mean, seriously, where else was I supposed to go and watch Gomez Adams ride a rocket ship on a railroad track?
Gaming.
And the dice say... 17.
Oh my god, 17 is Mystic Quest. And whatever comes to mind.
Why does Zod need a starship?
Alternating Thursdays on The Geekly Oddcast.
Welcome to Myopia Defending Childhood. This week we continue our made-for-TV month by watching Sam Neill pretend that dinosaurs are the most fantastic things he's ever done. I'm Nick Hoffman, the host of Myopia Defending Childhood, and award-winning comedian on Cineprov, and on panel we have...
Hello, this is Daniel, and I do know a card trick after a couple of drinks.
Yeah, there you go.
And standing in here for either Harvey Firestein or Gilbert Gottfried is none other than Matthew W. Quinn, who blogs at The World According to Quinn.
That's pretty good.
That's not bad, actually. Like, he could do radio right now.
He told me, he goes, I have a joke for you guys, and so we all prepared, and it was good.
The joys of having a cold.
Aye, my back.
Oh, honey, you can't possibly be Harvey Firestein. There's only one Harvey Firestein in the world.
We'll see about that.
There we go.
Rocco.
I'm Tom Herman of the Geekly Oddcast. We're on hiatus at the moment, but I'm here to discuss Merlin.
Yeah, this was his pick.
Yep.
So, Tom, since it's your pick, give us a little back thought. You don't even summarize it. Just
No.
what were you thinking?
I mean, I remember we were kind of talking like made-for-TV movies, and while this doesn't quite fit as that, it does when you put it together. It was a 2-episode miniseries back in the late 90s. I really enjoyed it when I was a kid. I always loved Merlin and Arthurian legend, and this was definitely a fun watch, at least back then. I still enjoyed it watching it now, but it's showing its age in many ways.
Aren't we all?
Well, especially
Except for Sam Neill.
I was gonna say, except for Sam Neill, who ages backwards apparently.
Apparently.
I hadn't seen this honestly. My wife had. She loves it. I mean, and whenever I say I'm doing something for Myopia, she kind of clenches a little. But we enjoyed watching this together. For some reason, well, first of all, if you're interested in following along and you have no idea what we're talking about, it's on Amazon Prime right now, in full. They broke it up into 3 episodes.
Mm-hmm. The first episode ends really weirdly.
Well, yeah, it does.
And since you've seen it, I don't know how well you remember the actual cuts in the movie when it was on TV, but you might tell me where it ended in real life, because this does feel particularly choppy.
There was 2 parts. I don't remember where the first part ended.
So I know where the first episode ended, like with the dragon, if I remember. Is that where they put, or did they go farther? I'm trying to remember how they broke this up in parts, because I kind of just blitzed through, but I know I remember where they would do the cuts for Amazon Prime, and I was like, this is not how they did it.
Well,
but I don't remember as well, because after the first time watching, I had like the VHS box set, and it was all on one VHS, just a very long one. So it really doesn't cut; it just goes. And so I'm not
goes.
Oh, quiet you!
All right, let's stop here for a second. Daniel, can you give us a plot synopsis of a 3-hour movie?
I mean, it's Arthurian legend, so it's pretty much the same as that.
So it's like The Sword and the Stone.
Well, yeah, except
That's
better.
in the middle.
That's the middle section.
Well, the whole thing, actually, the setup's a little different. It's told from the perspective of Merlin, who in this is like this virgin wizard child that's meant to bring the fairies...
Christ-like wizard child, too.
Yeah, he's meant to bring the fairies and the old ways back to power, but after his arch nemesis / mother, Queen Mob, kills his birth mother, he kind of doesn't want to.
No. She doesn't kill his birth mother. She kills his adoptive mother. His birth mother died in childbirth.
That's right. Okay.
And she refuses to save her, which is a whole thing.
His mab is a screechy little bitch, that's why.
And she whispers. She has this...
I'm going to spend this entire movie talking like a character from Dune.
Well, and it's
You
weird.
became a Christian. No.
She is a Bene Gesserit, and a not very effective one.
So anyway, he swears revenge against Mob and decides that the way he's going to do that is by using Uther Pendragon's child. Well, first Uther Pendragon, and then Uther Pendragon's child to restore goodness and bravery to the kingdom, but it doesn't quite work out.
He will heal the land.
Yes.
Of what?
Of
Camelot.
yeah.
Camelot.
It's only a model.
It's a silly place.
Yeah, there we go.
You have to have a response to your own joke, man. I got nothing. When you're just alluding to other things, I have no response.
Fair enough.
That's currently on Netflix too. Holy Grail.
Forever now, right? They own the rights.
I think they
They
yeah,
do.
Yeah.
They do.
They do.
End this. Like, Arthur grows up. He's a dick.
Well, it starts out with him as a teenager, where his first acts of magic is making a branch grow and saving a woman who will eventually grow up to be Isabella Rossellini.
From quicksand.
So I mean, basically, well, let's get to the Pendragons and Arthur. Merlin helps Arthur's dad, and then helps Arthur's dad rape a woman.
Yeah.
And then from that comes Arthur. Arthur grows up, pulls sword from stone.
Arthur
skipping a few
bangs
things.
his own sister by
Arthur,
accident.
no. Arthur's sister bangs Arthur.
Half sister, let's be
Half
clear.
sister.
Okay, so it's not as gross as Game of Thrones.
He's born of no. I'm getting all this
He's born
bullshit
of rape.
confused. He's born like Arthur's like the most important person in this myth. He has 10 lines before the episode ends, and in the next one, he's just an old dick.
Yeah.
He's so
Well, plus he disappears to go questing for the Grail.
Which they never really explain why. Plus, the Holy Grail is supposed to be in Britain somewhere. They'd be questing from like my house to Kennesaw.
over and over and over again. Like, and they're like, "Is this the Grail? No. Moving on. Is this the Grail?" And meanwhile, Lancelot's going home and begging Guinevere. Apparently,
Girl.
Because the walls can talk, or the walls have ears, or whatever that thing was.
that's about right. Then the world falls apart.
Because Merlin knows that Morgan is going to get pregnant with the work of Mab, and then Mab will raise the child to be Arthur's enemy and the champion of the old ways, complete with the Wicker Man sun god icon.
Yeah.
Oh, Mordred, right?
Yeah, and does completely jack shit about it.
He sure does.
Like, he could just show up and throw both of them out a window before Mab can intervene. Bye-bye.
Yep.
I always assumed it was like and this is going to, I don't know why I'm using this as the comparison, a Dr. Manhattan sort of thing where we're all puppets. He can just see the strings, but he can't actually do anything.
I get the feeling it's just more laziness.
Maybe.
Because, like, halfway through, the Lady of the Lake's like, "You were at the right place, but chose the wrong champion." And you're like, "Bitch, you could have told me this 20 years ago." Like, none of this motivation makes sense. Everyone's just watching the world burn, and Merlin's like, "I can fix it, I can fix it, I can fix it."
I liked the Lady of the Lake just because it's Miranda Richardson talking like a human being.
I didn't even get it was the same actress.
Yeah.
because
That's
it's
perfect. Makes perfect sense too, because like basically the Lady of the Lake was supposed to be summer and Mab is winter. Like that's the if you're going with the Fae.
Winter is coming on.
That's a good one.
It really wasn't, but thank
Well,
you.
I thought it was funny.
Well, I appreciate that.
The bearded end of the table was very disappointed with you.
The bearded end of the table is judgmental as hell.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to argue with you.
Hey, we average out a full head of hair. So it's,
Speaking of full head of hair, did anybody else like the framing device of it's Sam Neill in old age makeup just staring at the camera holding his staff going, "Do you want to hear my tale?"
That's how it ends. He's like drunk in a bar and kids throw coins at him and then end movie.
Well, at least
then he makes himself younger.
Yeah, at least he's not dancing around the pole with that stick. People throwing coins at him. How's that for image to stick forks in your eyes too?
I still have to sleep this evening, Matt.
You're welcome.
No.
Well, if it helps, you get to also think about a younger Isabella Rossellini.
Oh,
so.
yeah.
Hey, and I will say Helena Botham Carter
Carter
looks really good in this movie.
So does Lena Headey, let's be honest.
Well, and at this point, Helena Botham Carter's about our age. She's like 33 when she's playing this.
So there's hope.
For you or for what? that you'll turn into Helena Botham Carter in 20
I don't
years?
know what that comment was.
Yeah, I have no idea. No, let me keep guessing. Let's keep guessing. That eventually
One day you will take
your cross-eyed and crooked teeth will turn beautiful.
One day
when
you two can be the evil one in Harry Potter.
That if you seduce Martin Short, he'll make you beautiful.
That Tim Burton will take you and make you a movie star. No.
And you can live in his garage or whatever she did for 10 years, whatever that was.
One day you will take Edward Norton on his sexual awakening.
That one day you'll end up satisfying, well, at least you'll be better off than Johnny Depp. How about that?
Doesn't take much these days.
No, it doesn't. You can still gain weight like a human being. So let's kind of go through this.
Way ahead of you on that front.
Yeah, right. So this was made by Hallmark Entertainment. It appeared on NBC between April and April 1998.
Are you saying? Well, so that's interesting. First of all, you're saying that today this would be a Hallmark movie.
It was a Hallmark movie.
Well, no, it is, but
They didn't
this
have a
had
Hallmark
nipples in it.
channel.
Whoa, go on.
The original showing, you can see. Well, you can see the Helena Bonham Carter, like when she's sleeping with Arthur.
Yeah.
Like she kind of shifts up into screen, and you can
see her
some
boobs.
footage.
How old were you again when this was first aired?
98. So you were like 10, 12?
12.
This movie made him a man.
That would have been a
On
very important
NBC.
thing, yes.
Well, I mean,
My
but
childhood is showing. Sorry.
I would,
Zip
actually,
it up,
I'd be
please.
interested to see what you could actually see on an old like CRT SD. Like, I mean, her nipples probably look like Legos. Like it was just all giant pixel squares. I mean, I will say on a 4K TV, it's not, there's no subtlety going on.
Nick, but what pixels?
She had magnificent pixels for a 33-year-old.
Pixels indeed.
Yeah, pixels indeed.
So instead of, we could spend the entire time, I guess, talking about Helena Bonham Carter's figure.
Pixels, yeah.
Pixels. Should we go back to the beginning when it's talking about Merlin's teenage years? Because that was, to me, kind of creepy.
What? The fact that he like looks like 55-year-old Sam Neill the entire time, and they didn't bother? They didn't bother.
With a mullet.
Oh, no, they
no,
had a
they
young
had a young
Arthur.
Arthur.
They did
They
have
had
a
a
young
young
Arthur.
Merlin, a young
They had
Merlin.
Yes, a young Merlin.
For about 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And then as his teenager, he's like, I am going to go look for dinosaurs.
There's an old man in a white suit at my dig site.
Okay, let's do the last movie. I am the devil himself. Because we did Event Horizon.
Where we're going, you'll
but when
need
you're
eyes
happy-
to see.
So Merlin starts out as an old man telling the story of his life, as we talked about, and how it's creatively blah, 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 blah. Queen Mob is afraid of Christianity because Christianity is getting rid of the old religions and
The old ways,
The
which
old
he says
people
like
are stopping to
very
stop-
unsettling.
They stop believing in the old gods, and her power derives from belief.
I just can't compete with those basement pixels.
I get it. She's Freddy Krueger. Right? Because by this point, what is it? New Nightmare comes out, and when people stop believing in him, he disappears?
Oh, yeah, that was, I think, 4 or so years earlier, but yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. It's beforehand. And she even sounds like a goddamn pedophile. So we've got that all together.
She looks like she's got a lot of Botox.
She looks like Helena Bonham Carter looks now, right? Covered in like black fuzzy things on her head. She's wearing half of a veil. She might as well be co-starring in Sweeney Todd.
Oh, that would have been great casting.
Miranda Richardson as the
Mrs.
old
Lovett?
as Mrs. Lovett.
Yeah.
On Broadway.
Ooh.
And at this point, we have this kind of interaction between Mob, who's like, I know, I'll create the most powerful wizard of all time, and therefore bring blank to the world, bring back the old ways.
No, I actually really enjoy this for the lack of the lack of subtlety attempt here, which is, well, let's see, a virgin birth child is killing me, so let's create a virgin birth child to fight that.
As a side note, I have over the Christmas like break period. I'm a teacher, you know. I watched a movie called Santa's Sleigh, starring Bill Goldberg with Zach Krause, regular panelist, and they have the exact same rationale. The old Norwegian legend is like there were 2 virgin births ever. One was Santa Claus. And one was Jesus Christ, and Jesus brought peace, and Santa brings destruction. I'm like, whoa, back up. The virgin birth of Santa Claus. And I'm like, so at this point we have the virgin birth of Merlin, who's supposed to bring back the old ways. Turns out he's kind of a cool dude. Not a great dude, but pretty good dude.
He's a bearded man. He doesn't quite walk around in sandals. He doesn't have a job. He's still a hippie.
Yeah.
He's smacking a little weed midway through as he goes through the wizard portal and ends up in like the Hall of the Mountain King. This is some bullshit.
The land of magic, they call it. So
oh yeah, when they try and take him to be apprenticed by Martin Short.
Yeah.
with elf ears.
We have to talk
and
about
eyeliner.
Oh no, wait, no. Can we talk about the subtle Asian racism?
You mean
yes?
Subtle's a strong
Subtle,
word.
no, subtle, not lack of subtle. Lack of subtle Asian. Follow me, follow me. Don't get lost, don't get lost.
And he turns into like a bent over. I mean, he turns into. I guess stay tuned. We're gonna visit him again, but he turns into like a caricature out of a Lewis Carroll book.
Yeah,
I mean, it really is.
That's just sort of Martin Short's default.
So wait,
He's
Merlin
got
goes through the looking glass. Yes, please.
Yeah, Martin Short with evil green eyes, elf ears, and way too much guy liner.
He becomes Green Goblin for about 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Better movie.
Well, I mean,
Spider-Man is here, and my son, Green Goblin. Hi, guys!
I told you, Frick, you're not allowed to go to Comic-Con this year. No cosplaying.
so yeah.
Cosplay as a swashbuckler, please.
So which one of you can I get dressed up as Mab so I can go as Frick?
I'm going with Matt on that one. So yeah. Anyway, Frick's like the comic relief mentor figure, and his whole thing. The only real scene I can recall offhand from this is that bit where they're trying to teach him what the three types of magic.
There's verbal magic, hand magic, and mind magic.
which is mind magic's the most powerful.
Yes.
Well, the whole thing is they're trying to teach him how to light a candle with his hands, turning him into a hand wizard, which just sounds like a dirty, dirty, dirty joke. But no, that's actually what's happening. And then he just ends up spraying, speaking of dirty joke, he ends up spraying white goo all over Martin Short's face.
Rude hand gestures cannot be seen by the microphone.
That's telekinesis, Kyle. How about the power to move you?
Fill it with... Never mind.
Yeah, so after the virgin birth, I think we already mentioned this, but Mab allows the birth mother to die, and Arthur's in the kind of care of this. You know, it's like a very matronly character who stands up to Mab, which is kind of
it's
badass.
a Terry Jones.
Well, she's smart enough to play on Mab's self-interest. You know, like, well, if Mab may punish her for becoming a Christian or simply abandoning religion completely, it's not totally clear. It's like, well, you need me to take care of Merlin.
She didn't become a Christian. She just didn't give a crap about Mab anymore.
Yeah.
Well, and again, the idea of speaking back to one of these people is a character I actually really like. I wish there were more Muggles in Harry Potter who knew it was up and told people to f*** off. Mm-hmm. Right? Like,
well, it's what makes well, I almost wish like when you hear Mab and all of that, I end up thinking like Jim Butcher in the Dresden series.
Yeah, sure.
And that's why I love that character. Is just, you know, basically one of the few that will tell Mab to go screw herself.
Do you think Mab's plan would have worked better, like turning people off Christianity, if she just gotten everybody a Judas Priest album?
Breaking the law.
Breaking the law. Breaking the law. Breaking the law. Which I guess gets us to our first character that really makes a difference, which is the rest of episode 1, at least as far as the Amazon Prime goes, is dealing with King Vortigern.
Before we get to him, we should talk about the introduction. We kind of already did the full introduction of Merlin and Nimue.
Oh yeah. I mean, Nimue.
Okay, it's a broad that after creeping a little bit, Merlin saves the life of, like, literally 4 seconds later. The thing that bothers me the most about this miniseries is there's no time to watch the pot boil. It just has to happen. So he's introduced to Nimue, thinks she's cute, demands a kiss for giving directions. 3 seconds later, she's nearly drowning in quicksand, and he saves her using magic because his wood grows around her.
Yes.
And then after his wood grows and he saves it, he runs around telling everyone he got his first erection, and that's the scene.
And that means he has to go to Auntie Mab.
And his mother's very disappointed in him.
And you think I'm making a joke, because I am, because I'm filled with joke-em-ups. But the whole thing is that he's become a man now and has his magical powers.
Oh my goodness, this is I used to tell myself that I had everything.
Yes.
But that was only half true.
Jeez.
Well, and it's also very old Greek gods and stuff, right? Like a girl becomes a woman and a boy becomes a man when they first have sex. So he gets his first erection, gets his magical powers, and he's gone.
And ends up being tutored by Professor Frick in hand magic.
Well, and J.K. Rowling saw this and was like, I have a book for story children. And although I guess this came out the same year as the original Harry Potter.
That was after she watched Troll, if you listen to anyone.
Right. Right. I watched the first Super Mario Brothers movie and I thought, gee, this is a good idea for a book.
So after Merlin's great awakening, as it were, and after spending all that time with Mob, he realizes that he's just rather bored with the whole thing. So what does Mob do? Like, tries to convince him by letting his foster mother die.
Yeah. Well, and, you know, like an angsty teen, he runs away because it's...
You don't understand me. I'm just never going to use magic, and I hate you.
Which is almost exactly the line. Like, I mean, Daniel's pretending to have a teenage hissy fit, and as someone who teaches high schoolers, you're not far. But, like, that's what he goes. He's like, I'm just not going to use magic. And then we get to King Vortigern, who is
Rutger Hauer, who is having
It's
a lot of fun.
probably my favorite antagonist in this movie.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, I like Mab. It's enjoyable. Like, I know Matt doesn't, but I don't care. And
You think that Roy Batty's all that? Can he talk like this for 3 hours?
But this tight dress, this thong is right up my ass.
well, and what you don't understand because you're listening and you're not seeing this. What Dan has to do to get that voice is he takes his balls and he just squeezes them and squeezes them, and to hit the high notes, he just gives just the subtlest twist.
I think I heard something pop earlier, but I'm too afraid to check.
Do you know what's amusing is he just brings it down a full octave and he's Gollum.
Oh.
What's it got in its pockets?
That's 2 octaves, Dan.
Stupid Kiwi wizard. Always interfering in my plans.
All right, so at this point we get introduced to King Vortigern. How did you say it?
Vortigern.
I thought it was a hard G.
Vortigern.
We call him Evil Rutger Hauer. That work?
Prince Vertigo is taking over the kingdom. At this point, he's the king. The castle keeps falling down, and at a certain point,
this king needs Viagra.
Yes. Well, he keeps trying to build the castle, but it keeps falling down, and he murders the architect. And Merlin somehow enters the picture to try.
No! We're skipping my second favorite character.
The soothsayer.
Oh yes.
Oh my God.
I'll consult the stones, sir. I'll read the bones.
I mean,
it's not fun to make a people with speech impediments.
Oh my God, this character is... who am I thinking of? He's a Monty Python. He's a Mel Brooks character. He's like...
Rabbi Tuckman?
No.
Watch me.
Well, no, I was thinking...
He sounds kind of like Biggest Dickus from Life of Brian.
Oh, that's funny. I'm thinking like of like a fat guy from History of the World Part 1 whose character I can't even think of now. But he's got this shaggy long hair. He just doesn't know what's going on. And then all of a sudden Merlin shows up and goes, "This land is cursed," which is, I guess, the environmental message of the episode. And
there's a crying Indian on the hillside somewhere.
Right, exactly. And he goes, well, "First you have to find someone with holy blood." No,
that was a Mab.
Queen Mab. Whenever I hear Queen Mob, Mob, I'm thinking of like some shit out of V for Vendetta. Like it's all bullshit. But the thing is,
M for Mordred, also known as the third act.
God. And we're done. That's it. The podcast is over. No, and Queen. This is filmed at the most CGI backlot version of Stonehenge you've ever seen. And Queen Mob appears. He goes, I mean, literally, we have a guy who's doing a fake cry for faith. Well, the problem is he's an SNL character, so he's like, "Oh, I've believed in his old ways for my entire life, and I've never received a sign." And then, like, Jesus appears, right? Queen Mob just appears and goes, "I'll tell you your future."
I know who this guy is.
Who's that?
He's Drunk Hitler from The Producers.
And now it's springtime for Vortigern.
Don't be stupid, be a smarty. Come and join the old ways party.
There you go.
There you go.
And scene. Oh, beautiful.
Speaking of the special effects, do you think that Angelica Houston designed this Stonehenge too? Or is that too deep a cut?
It's a good cut. I would just say I think Power Rangers had a season worth of special effects that were stolen midway through.
No, I think the correct order for Spinal Tap finally arrived.
This week on Shock Sandwich, we're going to introduce Queen Mom as our backup singer.
She's the new drummer.
No, that poor schmuck who's praying at the temple.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
He just disappears and turns into Martin Short, who turns sexy in the middle of the second episode.
It's just nothing but a little globule left. More of a stain, really.
More of a stain, really. Okay, so at this point, Vortigern essentially gets to build his castle, but he gets warned. Merlin, like midway in mid-stride, says, "I just had a vision." Speaking of Spinal Tap, I had a vision. There were two dragons. Was like one who was silver
red
and one
dragon
was
and
One
the
was
white
black
dragon.
and one white and one red. Yeah.
Yeah.
The white is Uther Pen.
No,
The
white-
red was Pendragon. The white was
Vortigern.
Yeah.
Vertigo.
V for Vendetta, and V gets defeated. V's dragon is destroyed.
Well, I mean,
Voila!
After he tries to feed Nimue to an actual dragon and she gets burned.
well, because Mob tells her,
If you want to win, you must perform a sacrifice.
I wonder if the microphone is literally picking up any of this shit.
That's starting to hurt a little bit.
Welcome to my world.
I'll make
I'll make you a hot toddy like an adult person.
the pit of despair. Don't even.
Don't even think about trying to escape.
there we go.
Oh my God, that's who I was thinking of. Which is from Robin Hood Men in Tights, the first scene.
Princess Bride.
Princess Bride! Ah, damn it.
Cut that because Kelly will kill you.
No, oh, please. She doesn't even know what feminism is. But you're right. It's the first 20 minutes of it. That's perfect. So at this point, what's his name? Uther is the one who's coming. There's a weird series of scenes where they're trying to figure out what the f*** is going on. Frankly, the first episode on Amazon, which has a weird ending, which we'll get to, but it's the only one that feels like it's properly paced to me.
This first part?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially the third one feels like they're stumbling over themselves to finish the story they wanted to tell. I wish it was a...
No, I bet what happened was that this was initially being pitched as an option for a slightly longer miniseries. Either they burned out their budget or they were told, oh, no, it's only going to be 2. And it was... Because there's only 2 episodes of 90 minutes each, and it was fuck. And they're like, we got to finish this.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's the truth, because, like, when you watch... I mean, you guys kind of know the Arthurian legend. I mean, Monty Python and the Holy Grail is a good version. No Merlin, but it's the same idea. Sword in the Stone. Like, all these things are morality tales. They're chapters that go on for a while, and there's an end point. Like, they look for the Holy Grail. There's the Round Table. There's corruption at the Round Table. It falls apart, and the introduction of sin destroys them. It's a morality play.
Yeah.
They trip over each other. Like, I'm going to seduce this person. I'm going to seduce this person. I'm being seduced. Scene. Next crime. Like, they disappear for the Holy Grail. It's never introduced. It happens. Why is Merlin trying to destroy the old ways with the new ways? We don't know.
Well, apparently there's a deleted scene when Frick first appears to Morgan when she's like 7, and he tries to get her to put something in Arthur's crib, and supposedly that will give
That's not a deleted scene.
No,
That's
it's
in
there.
it.
It's in there.
It is in
He
it.
gives her this ruby. And
Yeah, but as she puts it in there, it's supposed to give Arthur poor impulse control. So, like, I'm going to abandon...
No, they never. They don't. The problem is they put it in, and it's important. But we're never explaining what it's supposed to do.
The deleted scene is the explanation.
They explain that it give him a poor impulse control.
God.
So then he's going to abandon his wife, his best friend, and his unfinished dream city for like 10 years to go chase after something that's supposed to be 10 miles away.
Well, and it's supposed to mostly be a metaphor. He just takes things literally because he's a dickhead. Also, we don't get any real Arthur. Arthur, like, other than pulling Excalibur, which is great. I will say the CGI is cheesy, but it's kind of cool.
Love it. Yeah.
I mean, having
The Rock of Ages.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
James Earl Jones show up.
Oh, yeah,
he can make any bad CGI
He could
creature
sound like
great.
a Gravelman. If I recast it today, though, James Earl is fine. It's Sam Elliott as a talking stone. Now, it seems like Arthur was looking for a certain sword that I had. Literally, do it like the last scene of Big Lebowski. And I hear there's a little Arthur on the way.
It was in there a little tight.
Little Arthur. Little Arthur with his sister.
So anyway, the whole Excalibur is introduced, and again, it's like the legend. Merlin takes it from the Lady of the Lake and gives it to Uther, and
Uther uses it to kill Vertigan.
No,
Yeah.
Merlin kills Vertigan.
okay.
I don't remember, guys. It's 3 hours long.
It's fine. No, it's fine. He uses it, breaks open the ice, Vertigern, which sounds like a Swedish chef word.
Vertigan.
Vertigern. It
gets
goes
him-
underneath the ice, freezes. He gives Uther the sword.
That's right. That's right. Vortigern goes under the ice, and Merlin freezes it.
And Pendragon and the sword and Merlin, like with Uther, it yields my favorite line from the movie, or one of them, which is when he takes the sword. He's like, I'm gonna do some magic, and he pushes the sword into the stone, and he's like, "You tricked me, Merlin. I'm a wizard. That's what I do."
That's right. Because Uther gets obsessed with that
yeah.
Duke's wife.
Yep.
Also, Uther and the Sword is the name of an 80s cop show. You take your sword and you get out of here!
I'd watch that show.
I mean, I would. If there was an 80s Chicago cop who was fighting crime. Now, if the Cubbies don't win, they're going to break my toes. And the guy busts in with a sword and starts killing mafiosi.
Was Dennis Franz the Sword?
Wicked witchcraft.
I'm kind of thinking it should sound like Goliath from Davy and the Goliath. I don't know, Jimmy. It seems like the mobster's telling the truth. I don't know if I can trust him, man. Like, it's just taking him down. That shit's a good show.
I don't know, Uther. I heard crack was bad for you.
I hear jokers are smokers.
Remember, Uther, winners just say no.
To lusting after their vassals' wives.
Oh, hell. All right.
Hundreds of men are dead because you have an itch.
Also a good line.
That's
right.
pretty much human history. Let's be honest here.
Well, I was going to say it's an ad for syphilis. But
Alexander the Great.
Trojan condoms. Save hundreds of lives so you don't get an itch.
How many wars were started over syphilis? Sorry.
Right. And that's kind of where the first episode ends, right?
Oh, is that where they? Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
it's around
it ends
there.
like right after the battles, and it's kind of just anticlimactic.
No, it went a little farther than that.
Well,
But I know Amazon broke it up into 3 episodes for whatever reason.
The second episode, we come back with Uther as the king. Kinda, he's corrupt. Kinda.
he's getting that way. But basically, Arthur had not. I keep confusing the two for whatever reason.
You're fine.
Merlin had all of his hopes pinned on Uther being a good nobleman, and he's not.
Good king, bad king. What's the difference?
Yeah. At a certain point, God, all this just sucks. No, I liked watching it, but it happens so quick. You need the commercial breaks to take a breath.
Yeah, because you end up with the commercial breaks. You end up filling in the blanks. Like your brain just kind of fills in what's necessary, and it works. It's like trying to binge watch a TV show that was made for TV. Sometimes you're like, what?
But again,
Yeah.
if you sit down and watch this, each section on Amazon Prime is like 60, 65 minutes. And it feels like it's tripping over itself because it's not even like a goddamn George Lucas Star Wipe, right? Like, it just ends up in the next scene. You're in the forest.
Misa Uther Pendragon.
Oh, don't go there, man.
He's the voice of the sword, isn't he? He's like, whoosha, whoosha, whoosha. I'm going to take you down. But at a certain point...
Who's old ways suck, man.
Oh, I forgot that he converted to Christianity. I like Jar Jar Binks as an evangelical. I take my brain powder from the 700 Club. Misa's smarter now. But what they're
Misa, give all my money to Robert Tilton.
He's one of the fabulous Baker boys. At this point, I mean, again, like, where do we go from here? At a certain point,
Well, England goes into civil war.
we should introduce Mordred at this point, right?
Yeah, we can just jump forward. So okay, let's jump forward. You have
what-
Oh no, we'll get this. So Uther, Merlin transforms Uther into looking like the Duke, so that he can go rape the Duke's wife,
Right.
so that Arthur can be born.
And Morgan knows that that's not her dad.
Yeah, well, yes, because children can apparently see through
Magic.
that sort of magic anyway.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't Morgan supposed to be a fairy or part fairy?
Morgan Le Fay, like Morgan of the Fae. Yes,
Right.
she's supposed to be, but that's not. They've shifted
In
it.
the once and future King T.H. White stuff, she's Arthur's sister. And as far as I can remember, she's human.
Yeah, but in the traditional, like, Benedictine
yeah.
monk
Yeah.
mythology, and if not, like, divinely birthed
She's
through
of the
fairies, she
Fae,
has
yeah.
magic.
Yes.
It's very Harry Potter in that way. Like, some people are touched by the fairies and they have magical abilities.
Okay, so Arthur's born. Morgan knows that he's not really her full brother. Arthur grows up with Merlin. We kind of do a little, hand waving and move forward. All right. So Arthur grows up. Uther dies. Merlin takes Arthur to the stone. Arthur pulls sword from stone, and Arthur is king. Now let's move forward.
Yeah. At this point,
It gets Game of Thronesy.
it kind of does. I mean, honestly.
No, Game of Thrones gets kind of Arthurian.
Yeah, this comes out before the first book, I think.
Oh no! Even if it didn't, this is referencing a tale older.
No, I'm pretty sure it references a Disney movie from
Well, I mean,
1964.
George R. R. Martin's been writing the fifth novel as long as Arthurian legend has existed. Let's be honest.
He's older than time itself. He's one of those stone goblins that we keep seeing in a fisherman's hat. I mean, who gives a shit?
Okay, all right. So Arthur
starts
goes
getting
off, comes
tutored.
back.
Yeah.
Or no. Arthur, the knight, he pulls the sword from the stone. Morgan Le Fay is transformed into a beautiful woman by
Martin Short.
I mean, now
There's
that
a
being
movie.
said, he's a weird, creepy man with whatever, but I guess his penis turns women beautiful.
So wait, so basically, given that her dad is dead and Martin Short ends up being lover and father figure, this is father of the bride, and
100%. This is 100%
With
father.
less basketball.
I don't even remember that.
I've never seen Father of the Bride.
Wait, the original, the Steve Martin movie?
I've never seen it.
What? This is a good movie. This is a good movie.
I remember that one scene of Steve Martin in the mirror singing "What's New, Pussycat," but that's about all I've seen.
all right, moving on. And so sister sleeps with half brother. Arthur gets pissed because Merlin gets pissed
gets
because
really
Arthur
pissed.
can't. Merlin gets pissed because Arthur can't keep it in his pants. I mean, he just pulled the sword out in front of everyone. What did he expect?
Whackity smackity.
Merlin shows up and he's like, "Out! Everyone out!"
And there's a child going to be coming from that. The other problem is Arthur married? No, Arthur wasn't married.
He wasn't
Arthur's
married
not
at the-
married.
Arthur wasn't married yet. Ends up marrying Guinevere. Decides he's going to go off and get the Holy Grail. And Merlin brings Lancelot.
We do see a scene where they're jousting, which is important because apparently Merlin sets up the joust to find the greatest, most pure hero of the era.
Like you do.
Like, I mean, exactly. It's the same reason we have football.
It's the same reason Renaissance fairs are still a thing.
No, Renaissance fairs are a thing to sell swords. There's a very powerful sword lobby. But what, of course, ends up happening is Merlin misinterprets things because the final punchline we get from the Lady of the Lake is, "I guess you're wrong most of the time," which is kind of the thesis statement of this entire miniseries.
We should
Right?
also.
Told you to get a gallows lad. It's like,
Right.
the hell does that mean?
And of course you have Lancelot defeating Galahad, and the loser was supposed to be the winner because apparently this is not Reagan's America.
No, Galahad was the little boy on the
Yeah,
island.
Galahad is his son.
Who's the one who's supposed to get that? Is it, who's the person he loses to? It's another Knight of the Round Table.
I'm
Knights
just
of the
thinking,
Round Table. No, sorry.
I'm just actually trying to think of Monty Python. It's not Galahad. It's not Robin.
Who's the one who ends up with the castle anthrax?
No, I think that's him. Good lord.
That's why I'm asking you
Doesn't
the
matter.
fucking
All right,
name.
we'll
Asshole.
insert audio here.
Basically, Lancelot wins, but he's wounded, and Guinevere is responsible for taking care of him. Dun 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 dun.
That is Galahad that ends up with castle anthrax, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is. But Galahad was the kid on the island, so it ends up with Guinevere. Guinevere and Lancelot have sex.
Oh,
Why
and
did you stop before sex? Is sex a word you can't say?
speaking of
they bone down in the old town.
speaking of awkward sex, Guinevere is Cersei.
Oh yeah, but she's not boinking her brother at the moment.
Also underrated Sarah Connor. So
yes, this is true.
And the Queen of Sparta mustn't forget that.
Some of them
we have.
Moving on. All right, so now Mordred shows up afterwards. Arthur comes back. Guinevere commits adultery. Mordred shows up and says Guinevere had sex with Lancelot. Lancelot runs away. Guinevere gets tied to a stake to get burned because apparently that's Christendom for you folks. I must have missed Leviticus.
Yeah, right.
And everyone takes Mordred seriously. This cranky goth with a mullet shows up.
And
I am Arthur's son.
And
she's a whore.
And right before Guinevere gets burned, I'm just trying to move us forward. Is right before Guinevere gets burned, Merlin calls down rain. Lancelot shows up, grabs Guinevere, and off they ride into the sunset. Arthur's knights get pissed at him because he called the wizard to change it. Mordred somehow comes in, and everyone believes him, and half of his knights go to fight with him. There's a battle. Arthur dies.
As does Mordred.
As does Mordred, thank God.
And this is where Excalibur matters again.
Yes.
Because it's disappeared for 2/3 of it, which again is a problem for me because the key characters of the story are supposed to be Merlin, Arthur, the sword, and maybe the Lady of the Lake and Mab. Half of these people are on screen for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And you notice we haven't talked about Morgan Le Fay in all of Thomas's rambliness because she appears and then disappears. All these people are on stage except for Sam Neill for about a day and a half.
Yeah, no, honestly, she doesn't matter all that much.
We forgot about Nimue.
I'm not forgetting. I am moving past it.
She is
useless.
Yeah, she's disappeared somewhere.
Because Mab basically uses her
She's
as
at a
bait.
convent.
She's at a convent because she's hideous now due to a fire, which something.
But she's not. Yeah, scars you can't see unless you look very closely.
And she covers the entire time because they can't afford the special
She's
effects.
like the bride of Frankenstein before they unwrap her. You can only see her eyes.
Yeah, they burn her face.
So Arthur gives Merlin the sword as he's dying, says no one should have it. Arthur returns it to the Lady of the Lake. She basically tells Merlin that he's a gigantic fuck up. Basically. Yeah. And then he goes to fight.
Scientifically, he's a fuck up.
Yeah, no, he consistently, yeah. And then so he goes to basically have the final showdown with Mab, which is where all the special effects budget went.
Yes.
I enjoy this fight very much. It's very short, but I enjoy the little of it I got.
Yeah, I mean, this is made for TV like Harry Potter. This is the last act of all 12 of the Harry Potter movies, 13, whatever they are now. Also with Johnny Depp now, and Helena Botham Carter now, and I'm pretty sure
eventually Sam Neill's going to get in there. We know it.
Why wouldn't he at this point? I would love him to be one of your Kiwi wizards.
I could see him as like the head of the Ministry of Magic or something.
And I'm holding his forearm now.
Yes, he is.
He summons a dinosaur.
No. His Patronus is a dinosaur.
You. If in Fantastic Beasts 3, The Refantasticking, he ends up he owns a dinosaur-like dragon guy, and what's his name has to catch it. Best movie. Best movie. If he's got a little one of them raptors.
So there is something we did skip, and it is important.
No shit.
And I didn't want to because I'd love to leave Nimue behind, but it is.
He does leave Nimue behind.
Yes,
but she goes a fantasy part.
To this fantasy, the world of the Fae. but she can look normal and they can be together, but it's going to get closed off. Merlin goes, no, I have to go help Arthur. She gets trapped in there. So Merlin has nothing left to lose, goes fights Mab, basically wins Mab to a standstill, and then turns around and going, we're going to forget you, which is her biggest fear.
Mm-hmm.
And then she kind of poofs out of existence.
Yeah, and for a moment, I actually felt feelings watching her die because it was kind of sad.
What kind of feeling?
Oh, I'm melting.
It was just almost pitiable.
She's not pitiable.
Well, she's obviously a very bad person, but still.
No, she's just... She's winter. She's death. That's
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it does say in my notes here, Mab's death elicited a slight emotional response.
Well, that's a fine praise of that scene right there.
That's quite a Sheldon.
No, I remember when I saw Othello, and I remember almost feeling a stirring when he died.
I mean,
Definitely
which version of Othello? I was going to say that's almost the story you told.
The one where Lawrence Fishburne was Othello. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean Larry Fishburne, I'd buy as Othello. That's
Yeah.
a good one. I saw a good one with Picard.
Oh, yes.
Picard is Othello.
Well, it was an all-black cast, and he was the one white guy. It was a Shakespeare in the Park.
Because
it was good.
Orson Welles was Othello in one of his movies.
Well, right,
back in
and
the
everyone
day.
was fit and thin, and he was Orson Welles.
No, this
And
this was before Orson Welles really became Orson Welles.
I made
Became
a joke
Unicron,
about-
you mean?
What?
What?
Now?
Became Unicron in girth?
Judging by your weight, you are Orson Welles. May I have your autograph, please? The only funny Garfield joke in that cartoon show.
Ooh.
We almost riffed in Cineprop. At least I was pushing for it. The Christmas episode of Garfield and Friends, where the grandmother's like,
Oh, that grandma is a badass.
Oh, yeah.
she's the best. Like Garfield's gift is her dead husband's love letters, and she just reads them. Well, it gets a little inappropriate here, Garfield. And the kids are just like, Mom, thanks. He did what with a? Oh my! Hooks.
Moist. No.
Yeah, moist sibilance.
Okay, so they turn around and forget, and then we fade back to old Merlin sitting as he's telling a bunch of children the story.
And then begs them for money.
Begs them for money, and then at the very end going, I remember it a bit differently. And Martin Short is in the back as an old frick.
Yeah.
And
That almost sounds like an insult.
Yeah. Well, he could frick right off.
and basically tells him, like, magic is gone, but he found Nimue, and she's back at his old house. Merlin goes, pulls one last bit of magical chicanery out of his ass and makes them young again, even though that's supposed to be impossible. And then they're young again.
And that's the end of
And
the
that is the
show.
end of this.
I mean, like, and here's the thing: you might think we gave short shrift to people like Morgan Le Fay, but other than one weird, awkward orgy kind of scene where like there's like 6 people in the room and there's sexual giggling, she's on screen for 10 minutes. Like everyone's like no one's on screen for more than 10 minutes. Even Lancelot and the adultery. It's more of a Cliff Note version of a scene. Like it's a paragraph of. That's what frustrated me. Like
you never see their quest for the Holy Grail either. They just go off and then suddenly they're back.
They come back with a beard and time has
No,
passed.
I genuinely wonder, because like something we don't really get often anymore in dramas, or kind of like those big, almost like AAA shows.
Yeah.
Is the first episode would be almost a feature-length movie, like the Lois and Clark New Adventures of Superman. The first episode was like 2 hours long.
Oh, well, because back in the day, in case it didn't get picked up, they needed to air it as a TV movie to make the money.
Exactly. That almost this was like a pitch for something longer. At least the beginning of it was like, just make it a 2-parter and we'll call it a day. And then it just had a rush finish, when this probably could have been a better, like even a 6-part series at 90 minutes an episode. They probably could have done some pretty interesting stuff.
I mean, and you can blame whatever you want. I almost want to say it's kind of the network. Had it been, it's 98, like it's too early for a lot of the cable channels to afford something like this, but had it been on Sci-Fi, you would have had a 6-parter and it would have been something. This feels like so much nothing.
No, what weirds me out is that there is a sequel to this with Sam Neill on Amazon Prime.
He needed a new bathroom.
Yeah, clearly.
And somehow they resurrected him as Merlin and brought him back for more, except it's nothing like this. I couldn't even get myself to watch more than about 20 minutes of it before I gave up.
What was it about? It like he has an apprentice?
No, I didn't get that far. Like Arthur's, like it doesn't even match with what this series does. So it's just like
I'm just going off the title I saw. Then it's like sounds really stupid, and I just am like, nope.
Yeah, that's also that's supposed to work because the end of this is the end of magic, but yet.
Well, right, and it's the problem is it's very nice and self-enclosed. I again, then there's that. Anyone watch that weird, shitty show from when, I guess, almost a decade ago?
Merlin?
Now? Yeah,
I watched some of it. Yeah.
Oh, that one
anything?
on the BBC.
Is it literally anything?
Not really.
Yeah.
I'll probably get hate for that, but I didn't think it was that great.
Well, but that's just it. It's a reaction to the end of Harry Potter, and they're like, "Well, there's other magic shit." No, I mean, like that's what it is. I like the old school stuff, not because Harry Potter is crap or anything, but even Harry Potter is set a decade before, right? It's supposed to be set in like, I mean, the Clinton administration, and then Clinton, I guess, outlaws magic or whatever, or Tony Blair, I guess, outlaws magic because it's Britain. But like, it's supposed to be set in the early 90s.
You wizards couldn't even save Princess Di. You don't deserve magic.
There's a dress with a stain in it. How could you not get the stain out? Whatever.
The only Jewish girl that doesn't do dry cleaning. Sorry.
Right.
Oi, Gewalt.
Yikes.
That's a Robin Williams joke right there. That's
yeah, that was.
Speaking of conclusions, let's wrap this up. Daniel, what are your final thoughts?
Sorry.
I broke the podcast.
All right.
You got one of them joke 'em ups.
So this is a TV show that's based on fantasy. It's got rape, incest, bloody battle scenes, and Lena Headey.
it's very English.
It's pretty much just Game of Thrones for network TV. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, then go check it out on Amazon Prime. If that sounds stupid to you, well, unfortunately, you're probably going to agree. I thought it was charming, though. I'm not going to lie. I didn't hate myself for watching this.
No, I found it very charming. Can I say, if we do a remake, can we make Tyrion? Can we make a Peter Dinklage Frick?
Better casting. No, I like Martin Short, but Martin Short didn't add anything by being funny. Make him grittier, make him more sarcastic, make him angry. Do it. It's a better angry character.
His call out of Mab was so unimpressive.
Yeah, I mean, because the whole character is so soft and silly and gets chewed out. Like, the
butt monkey.
He's completely anachronistic the entire time.
Well, and I was just thinking of Robin Williams when he's the genie in Aladdin.
That's exactly what they were going for.
Yeah, when he's being kicked around by Jafar, and he's just like, "I'm sorry, sir, but no, you need a or Newhart, Bob Newhart, just kind of tripping over his words, like, whatever. I just need something there. Matt, sorry, final thoughts.
It's too long to be worth the time to watch it. I mean, Sam Neill, except for two really ridiculous scenes where he's like, "I will beat you, Mab. I will find a way, and Arthur will heal the land." When he's just trying to yell and be over dramatic, he's just so bad. But most of the time, he's fine. It's just too long, and a lot of people make really stupid decisions throughout. It's like Matrix Revolutions level bad decisions.
Thomas?
I still enjoy it. It's probably going to be another 20 years till I watch it again, and then I'll pass judgment again at that point.
Sure.
But I mean, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the nostalgia I got from watching it. There's still definitely some parts to enjoy. Some of the special effects have definitely not aged well at all, especially on a full 1080 screen. But otherwise, I mean, I'll agree with Daniel. It was charming.
My final thoughts on this are, I had no idea what this was, and so when I pulled it up and my wife knew it, I was like, is this going to be one of those weird, awkward moments? I found it charming. I think, unfortunately, it's one of those cliches where the first episode is kind of the best. And that just has to do with the pacing. Like, the last episode moves so quick, you turn to get like another sip of your drink, and you've lost all of the Holy Grail thread. Like, it's really that short. Like, at one point, Morgan Le Fay dies because she falls down the stairs, and she had only been reestablished as a character 3 minutes before. Like, honestly, I found it charming. I just wish they had 2-3 times the amount. Like, had it been a 10-episode miniseries, like one season of a show, it would have felt like something, but this felt like nothing. that doesn't mean it's bad. I mean, like Thomas, I'll probably stumble over this again in 10 years, have forgotten everything about it, and be like, yeah, it's worth a good watch. It's what I call a sick day watch. You know, when I was a kid, it was, can I get all 40 stars in Mario 64 again and beat the game before lunch? This is like, man, I don't even have to get out of bed. I can watch an entire series and feel like I've completed a meal. It doesn't mean it's a good meal, and at the end it trails off, but it's fine. Now, I'm going to end by, like we've been doing, telling you what's next. Next is my choice for a TV movie. Now, I watched this in my friend's basement at a time where I may or may not have been hitting on his sister. But it's an excellent movie, I think. And in fact, I think it's better than the Ashton Kutcher and the Justin Long version of Steve Jobs' life story. It's called The Pirates of Silicon Valley. And The Pirates of Silicon Valley is a made-for-TV movie on TNT, which you can find on YouTube. Matt found it for me.
I live to serve.
You're a hero. But I find it ultimately charming, and it tells the story of the rise of Microsoft and Apple simultaneously, and ends right as Apple matters again for the first time after declaring bankruptcy, when Microsoft owns 25% of it. So stay tuned next week and every future week as we turn on the TV and watch a little piece of your past to put on trial. Thanks, guys.
Myopia Defend Your Childhood is produced by Do Better Podcasting and a member of the ESO Network. It is hosted by Nick Hoffman, edited by Daniel Suttis and Ann Burke. It is produced by Jacob Suttis, Nancy Quinn, and Ann Burke. Thomas Herman is our consultant. Nick Hoffman is our executive producer. The theme song is Surf Shimmy by Kevin MacLeod. Find it at incomptech.com. It is licensed under the Creative Commons license. Thanks.